It's a difficult day for their customers. It's a difficult day indeed for their suppliers. There are many suppliers who number about 6,000, and we acknowledge that. We recognise those people, and certainly I watched some of the heartfelt comments made by some of their baggage handlers, some of their cabin crew, and I feel for them. We really do. As a government, we understand the complexity of this situation. We also understand that, as Virgin has said, this is a way out to recapitalise. There is a path forward under voluntary administration to recapitalise and restructure their business, and this is important. We also acknowledge the fact that the federal government has provided so far during COVID-19 more than $1.28 billion of assistance, a lot of which Virgin has been able to access. Virgin has been able to access the initial March 18 announcement, where $715 million was put on the table as way of waiving fees when it comes to fuel excise, Air Services Australia charges and such things as security screening. And Virgin CEO Paul Scurrah told me that Virgin has benefited to the tune of tens of millions of dollars because of that announcement, and it's backdating to 1 February. And of course, those fees continue to be waived whilst there are planes in the sky, and there are, and that is thanks to our March 28 announcement when I announced $198 million for regional air routes to be continued to the 138 centres across regional Australia, and Virgin Australia flies to many of those destinations, and Virgin are taking part in those continued regional routes. And of course, last week I announced $165 million to ensure that there is a domestic trunk route service in Australia. And of course, Virgin are part of that too, and we thank them for that. We thank them for continuing to put planes in the sky to enable people to travel between capital cities and to key regional destinations. Of course, the April 1 announcement where we decided that there would be $110 million spent on freight assistance, and Virgin are taking part in that, and we thank them for that. And of course the repatriation flights where we're getting Australians who are abroad for any number of reasons, either they're holidaying or they're visiting or they indeed, some of them live overseas, and the Prime Minister has said that they need to come home. Well, Virgin are helping take part in those repatriation flights, and we thank them for that. There is a way forward for Virgin, and of course the JobKeeper payments, $130 billion that the federal government is providing to keep people in jobs, to keep supporting jobs across all sectors, all industries, all businesses. Virgin can continue to participate in the JobKeeper through voluntary administration. We want to see a two-airline sector coming out of COVID-19. It has been a dreadful situation. We understand, we acknowledge that, and we want to see Virgin come out the other side. Virgin have said that in their statement this morning. We acknowledge it's a difficult day for Virgin. We will continue to work with Virgin, with the voluntary administrators to get the best outcomes. I'd like the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, to add to those remarks.
Well, thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. As the Deputy Prime Minister just said, the Board of Virgin Australia has chosen to put the company into voluntary administration. This is not liquidation. This is not Ansett. This is not the end of the airline. Rather, as the company itself has said in its statement, this is an opportunity to recapitalise and for Virgin to come out stronger on the other side of the coronavirus crisis. Virgin Australia is a very good airline, performing a very important role. And this is a difficult day for its staff, for its suppliers, and for the aviation sector more broadly. But the government was not going to bail out 5 large foreign shareholders with deep pockets who together own 90% of this airline. As the Deputy Prime Minister has said, we will continue to provide support, as we have, to the aviation sector, and the JobKeeper package will continue to be available to Virgin employees. The government's objective is to see 2 commercially viable airlines operating domestically in Australia. This will be good for jobs, it will be good for competition, it will be good for lower prices, and it will be good for the Australian economy more broadly. Today we note the announcement by the company that the administrator will be Deloitte's. Well, today the government announces that Mr Nicholas Moore, the former CEO of Macquarie, someone very well experienced in commercial matters, will engage with the administrator on behalf of the government together with the Treasury and Finance teams in support. Our objective is a market-led solution. Our objective is two commercially viable major domestic airlines operating in Australia, and we will work constructively with Deloitte's through Nicholas Moore and our Treasury and Finance teams from here.
Mr McCormack, by either of you, how confident are you that there will be a market solution, that there is a sufficient appetite amongst these private equity investors and so forth to pick up this airline?
Well, I can refer to the statement itself from the company, where it's referred to a number of parties being interested. I think it's very serious, and it goes back to our earlier points, which is Virgin Australia is a very good airline, performing a very important task. And we want to see two airlines continue, and we have already had discussions with the ACCC to ensure that they strongly enforce our competition law so that we can have two commercially viable airlines operating on domestic routes here in Australia. The role of the competition regulator, the ACCC, will be very important, and we've already started to have those discussions. So we will continue to engage constructively with the administrator, but I do believe there is a lot of significant interest from commercial parties.
The Virgin being controlled by a Chinese state-owned entity?
Look, I don't comment on foreign investment matters either broadly or specifically, to be honest. We obviously have a strong national interest test, and as you know, in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, we have announced the temporary removal of those thresholds for foreign investment, which means that there will be extra scrutiny on any foreign investment proposal, and I would wait to consider any proposal on its merits without making any further comment than that. Andrew.
I mean, he's almost like a government emissary. So what are his riding instructions? And the fact that you have sent him in to act in this role, whatever it is that suggestive of there being some sort of government intervention in weeks ahead?
Well, Andrew, as you know, the airline business is important to the economy, and these matters of voluntary administration are complex. But it's also a well-known path for companies to restructure and to recapitalise and to come out stronger on the other side. And cases in point are Channel 10, Darrell Lea, and other companies have also gone through the voluntary administration process. So we have engaged Nicholas Moore in that process to talk to the parties, and in particular to talk to the administrator, Deloitte's, with a view to ensuring that we continue to maintain two airlines on those domestic routes here in Australia, but also a market-led solution is our preference. John.
Oh, sorry. Just following up Andrew's question about the sort of role that Nicholas Moore would play. He's obviously experienced in restructuring. Also, when he was chair of Macquarie, CEO of Macquarie, they had stakes in airport business as well. Could you just flesh out a little bit more how you see his role playing out in this and why the government's chosen him?
Well, Nicholas Moore is someone who's very well respected for his tenure at Macquarie, 10 years in the role. but also he brings to the table specific skills and expertise, which will be complementary to the ones that we have within Treasury and Finance, and obviously he'll be working with our team to ensure that the national interest is advanced, and he will be having that engagement with the administrator Deloitte. And as you could imagine, there's lots of issues to work through and to discuss, and complex commercial matters, and it is best done with his assistance.
If the market solution weren't to be found, would the second option then to be to facilitate the entry into the market of another carrier?
Well, again, we're not going to speculate on what happens in the weeks and months ahead. What we do know is that the voluntary administration process with Deloitte as the administrator is a pathway forward. Michael and I have both referred to the company statement itself as saying that they are hopeful of working through their challenges, dealing with the restructuring of their business and the refinancing of their business with a view to coming out stronger on the other side.